Tom stood in the middle of his workshop, a cluttered mess of wires, tools, and half-finished machines. The space station hummed faintly around him, a lonely outpost floating at the edge of human territory. He scratched his head, staring at the oil-stained floor. "This place is a disaster," he muttered. Living alone for months had turned his workspace into chaos, and he'd finally caved, ordering a cleaning service from the station's automated system. He expected a robot drone, something simple to sweep up the mess. What he got instead was about to change everything. The workshop's airlock hissed, and Tom turned, wiping his greasy hands on his jumpsuit. The door slid open, revealing not a machine but a tall, feathered alien. She was nearly 7 feet tall, with shimmering blue feathers that caught the dim light. Her wide, golden eyes blinked rapidly, and her clawed hands clutched a cleaning kit. Feathers drifted to the floor as she stepped inside, leaving a trail behind her. Hi. Tom said, his voice cracking with surprise. "I am Lyra," she chirped, her voice high and musical. "From Vaxel Cleaning Crew. I am here to clean." She paused, fidgeting with her kit. More feathers fell, and she let out a nervous trill. "Sorry. I shed when I'm like this." Tom raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" Lyra's feathers puffed up, and her golden eyes darted around. "Feather bloom," she said quietly. "It's a Vaxel thing. Happens every 10 years. Makes me emotional. And messy." She gestured at the growing pile of feathers on the floor. Tom scratched his neck, unsure what to say. "So, you're my cleaning service? Not a robot?" Lyra nodded quickly. "Yes. I signed up to work off-world. Needed a break from home. But I didn't expect this." She waved a claw at herself, shedding another plume. Tom couldn't help but laugh. "Well, you're here now. Might as well start. Just don't clog my air filters with those feathers." Lyra tilted her head, then gave a small chirp that sounded like agreement. She opened her kit, pulling out strange tools that hummed and glowed. As she worked, Tom watched, fascinated. Lyra moved with quick, graceful steps, her claws clicking on the metal floor. She swept up oil spills with a glowing rod and scrubbed grime with a buzzing cloth. But every few minutes, she'd pause, shake out more feathers, and mutter something in her language. "You okay?" Tom asked, leaning against a workbench. Lyra froze, then turned to him. "It's the bloom," she said. "It makes me feel everything. Too much. I shouldn't be here, but I didn't want to cancel. I like keeping promises." Tom shrugged. "I get it. I don't like breaking promises either. You're doing fine. Better than a robot, anyway." Lyra's feathers fluffed again, and she smiled, a sharp, beak-like grin. For a moment, they stood there, human and alien, sharing a quiet understanding. Then the lights flickered. A loud groan echoed through the station, and everything went dark. "Oh, great," Tom groaned, grabbing a flashlight. "Power's out. Happens sometimes. Old station." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly in the dark, wide with alarm. "Is it dangerous?" she asked. Tom shook his head. "Not usually. Just annoying. Generator's probably clogged again. I'll fix it." He started toward the back of the workshop, but Lyra followed, her cleaning tools still in hand. "I'll help," she said firmly. "It's my job to clean, yes. Even generators." Tom chuckled. "All right, bird lady. Let's see what you've got." They squeezed into the generator room, a cramped space filled with pipes and wires. Tom shone his flashlight, spotting the problem, a vent choked with dust and debris. "Figures," he said. "This thing's older than me." He grabbed a wrench, but Lyra stepped forward, her glowing rod in hand. "Wait," she said. This can clear it. She aimed the rod at the vent, and a soft hum filled the air. Dust burst out in a cloud, then vanished as the tools sucked it up. The generator rumbled back to life, and the lights flickered on. Tom blinked, impressed. Okay, that was cool. Where'd you get that thing? Lyra chirped proudly. Vaxel Tech. We're good at cleaning. And, other things. She hesitated, then added, thank you. For not sending me away. Most humans don't like aliens shedding everywhere. Tom grinned. I don't mind a little mess. Keeps life interesting. Lyra's feathers puffed again, and for a second, her golden eyes softened. But the moment didn't last. A sharp beep cut through the air, Tom's comm device. He tapped it, and a crackly voice came through. Station alert. Unknown ship approaching. No ID signal. Tom frowned. That's weird. No one comes out here. Lyra's feathers flattened against her body, and she clutched her cleaning kit tighter. Tom, she said, her voice trembling. I think, they might be here for me. The workshop grew quiet, the hum of the generator the only sound. Tom stared at Lyra, her nervous shedding now making sense. Whatever this feather bloom was, it wasn't just about emotions, it was trouble. And trouble, it seemed, had just found them both. The workshop's lights buzzed faintly as Tom stood frozen, staring at Lyra. Her golden eyes darted toward the comm device still beeping on his workbench, its warning about an approaching ship echoing in the small space. Feathers drifted from her trembling frame, piling up around her clawed feet. Who's here for you? Tom asked, his voice low but steady. Lyra clutched her cleaning kit tighter, her sharp beak clicking nervously. Vaxel enforcers, she said. My people. They don't like it when we leave during feather bloom. It's not allowed. Tom crossed his arms, frowning. Not allowed. You're just cleaning my workshop. What's the big deal? Lyra shook her head, her feathers puffing up in a mix of fear and frustration. The bloom isn't just shedding and feelings. It's sacred to us. They think it should happen on Vaxel, with other Vaxel. Not out here. Not with. She trailed off, glancing at him. With humans? Tom finished, raising an eyebrow. Lyra nodded, looking away. They'll want to take me back. By force, if they have to. Before Tom could respond, the station shuddered. A low rumble vibrated through the floor, and the comm crackled again. Unknown vessel docking. No response to hails. Tom swore under his breath and ran to the workshop's control panel, a scratched-up screen flickering to life. A grainy image appeared, 3 sleek, silver ships clamping onto the station's outer hull. Their sharp, bird-like design screamed alien tech, far beyond anything human-built. Guess they're not here to chat, Tom muttered. Lyra stepped closer, her glowing eyes wide. Tom, you should let me go. This isn't your fight. He shot her a look. You think I'm just gonna hand you over to some feathered bullies? Not happening. This is my station, my rules. Lyra blinked, surprised, then gave a small chirp. You're stubborn, she said. Tom grinned. You have no idea. Now, help me think. We've got maybe 5 minutes before they bust in here. He turned back to the workbench, grabbing tools and spare parts. His mind raced, years of fixing machines had taught him how to improvise, and he wasn't about to let some alien enforcers trash his home. Lyra watched, hesitant, then set her cleaning kit down. I can fight, she said quietly. Vaxel are trained to protect ourselves. And my tools, they're not just for cleaning. Tom paused, glancing at her glowing rod and buzzing cloth. You're full of surprises, aren't you? All right, let's rig something up. The next few minutes were a blur of activity. Tom yanked wires from an old engine, twisting them into a makeshift tripwire across the airlock entrance. He hooked it to a spare battery, enough to zap anyone who crossed it. Lyra, meanwhile, adjusted her cleaning tools. The glowing rod hummed louder as she tweaked it, turning it into a stun baton. Her buzzing cloth became a net, crackling with faint energy. "This'll slow them down," she said, testing the net with a flick of her claw. Tom nodded, impressed. "Good. I'll handle the heavy stuff." The station shook again, harder this time. Metal groaned as the airlock door began to glow red. Someone was cutting through. Tom grabbed a heavy wrench and a portable welder, his hands steady despite the chaos. "Get behind me," he told Lyra. She hesitated, then obeyed, her feathers brushing his arm as she moved. The touch sent a strange jolt through him, but he shook it off. No time for distractions. The airlock burst open with a deafening bang, and 3 Vaxel enforcers stormed in. They were taller than Lyra, their feathers dark and sleek, with curved beaks and glowing red eyes. Each carried a staff that sparked with energy. Lyra of Vaxel, the leader barked, his voice harsh and guttural. "You've broken our laws. Return now, or we take you." Lyra stepped forward, her stun baton humming. "I'm not going back," she said, her voice shaking but firm. "I choose where I go." The leader snarled, raising his staff, but Tom was faster. He triggered the tripwire, and a sharp crack filled the air as electricity arced across the floor. The enforcers stumbled, their feathers sizzling. "That's my welcome mat," Tom said, swinging his wrench at the nearest one. It connected with a satisfying thud, sending the alien reeling. Lyra darted in, her net snaring another enforcer's legs. She zapped him with the baton, and he crumpled, twitching. The leader recovered quickly, lunging at Lyra with his staff. She dodged, her bloom-heightened reflexes making her a blur, but the staff grazed her arm, singeing her feathers. She cried out, and Tom's blood boiled. "Hey, beak face," he shouted, firing his welder. A burst of white-hot sparks hit the leader's chest, forcing him back. Lyra recovered, hitting him with her baton, and he dropped, unconscious. Panting, Tom and Lyra stood over the fallen enforcers. The workshop was a mess, scorch marks on the walls, feathers everywhere, tools scattered. "That wasn't bad," Tom said, wiping sweat from his brow. Lyra chirped, a tired smile on her beak. "You fight well. For a human." He laughed. "You're not so bad yourself. Those cleaning tricks. Genius." But their victory was short-lived. The comm crackled again, and a new voice came through, cold and commanding. "Lyra, this is your elder council. You've defied us. More ships are coming. Surrender, or your human friend pays the price." Lyra's feathers flattened, her eyes wide with fear. "They mean it," she whispered. "They'll destroy the station to get me." Tom clenched his wrench, his jaw tight. "Let them try. I've kept this pile of junk running through worse than this. We're not done yet." He turned to the control panel, already thinking of ways to reinforce the station. Lyra watched him, her golden eyes flickering with something new, trust, maybe, or hope. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "You don't have to." Tom shrugged, not meeting her gaze. "Maybe I like having you around. Shedding and all." The station hummed around them, a fragile shield against the coming storm. The enforcers were down, but the real fight was just beginning. Tom's mind buzzed with ideas, traps, defenses, anything to keep them safe. Lyra's bloom might have brought trouble, but it had also brought her to him. And now, they'd face it together, human stubbornness and Vaxel courage side by side. The workshop was silent for a moment, the only sound the faint hum of the station's systems and the occasional crackle from the downed enforcer's gear. Tom stood at the control panel, his fingers hovering over the flickering screen as he scanned for incoming ships. Lyra sat nearby, brushing singed feathers from her arm, her golden eyes fixed on him. The threat from her elder council hung heavy in the air, more ships, more danger. But something else lingered too, something unspoken between them. Tom broke the silence first. "All right, we've got some time before they show up. Let's make it count." He turned to Lyra, his voice steady despite the tension. "Tell me about this feather bloom. What's it really mean? Why's it such a big deal?" Lyra hesitated, her claws tapping nervously against her cleaning kit. Then she sighed, a soft trill escaping her beak. "It's more than just shedding," she said. "It's about connection. When it happens, we feel open. Vulnerable. It's supposed to draw us to someone we trust, someone we could build a life with." Tom leaned against the workbench, crossing his arms. "So, it's like alien matchmaking?" Lyra chirped, a hint of amusement in her tone. "Sort of. But it's not forced. It just shows what's already there." And right now, she stopped, glancing at him, her feathers puffing slightly. Tom raised an eyebrow. "Right now what?" Lyra looked away, her voice quiet. "It's showing me you. That's why I stayed. Why I didn't run when the enforcers came." For a moment, Tom didn't know what to say. He'd lived alone on this station for years, fixing ships, tinkering with machines, keeping the galaxy at arm's length. People, human or alien, didn't stick around. Yet here was Lyra, feathers and all, saying he mattered to her. "Ha," he said finally, rubbing the back of his neck. "Guess I'm not used to that." Lyra tilted her head. "Used to what?" He shrugged. "Someone wanting me around. It's been just me and this station for a long time." Lyra stood, stepping closer. "You're not alone anymore," she said simply. "Not if you don't want to be." Her words hit him harder than he expected, and he looked at her, really looked. The way her feathers caught the light, the determination in her glowing eyes, the way she'd fought beside him. Something clicked, like a gear sliding into place. "All right," he said, a small grin tugging at his lips. "Then let's make sure we both stick around. Those enforcers aren't taking you anywhere." The station's alarm blared, cutting through the moment. Tom spun to the screen, 5 red dots closing in fast. "They're here," he said, his voice sharp. Lyra grabbed her stun baton, her feathers flattening with resolve. "What's the plan?" Tom's grin widened. "We turn this station into a fortress. They want a fight. They'll get one they won't forget." He darted to the workbench, pulling out cables, sensors, and a busted shield generator he'd been meaning to fix. Lyra followed, her cleaning tools in hand. "Tell me what to do," she said. They worked fast. Tom rigged the shield generator to pulse energy bursts, enough to scramble the enforcer scanners. He wired the station's exhaust vents to blast hot air, turning them into makeshift cannons. Lyra adjusted her buzzing cloth into a wider net, linking it to the station's power grid for a bigger shock. "Your bloom," Tom said as they worked. "Can you control it? Use it somehow?" Lyra paused, thinking. "Maybe. It heightens my senses, my reflexes. If I focus, I can feel where they are. Like a warning." Tom nodded. "Perfect. You're my early alert system. Let's do this." The station rocked as the enforcer's ships fired, energy bolts slamming into the hull. Tom activated the shield pulses, and the screen showed the enemy scanners flickering out. "Gotcha," he muttered. Lyra closed her eyes, her feathers trembling, then pointed. "There, port side. They're boarding." Tom hit a switch, and the exhaust vents roared, blasting 2 enforcers back as they tried to cut through. The airlock groaned open again, and 6 Vaxel stormed in, their red eyes glowing with fury. "Lyra," the leader shouted. This ends now. She didn't flinch, swinging her net wide. It caught two enforcers, sparking as it pinned them to the floor. Tom triggered a trap, a crate of spare parts rigged to fall. It crashed down, scattering the others. "Nice try," he yelled, firing his welder at the leader. Sparks flew, forcing the alien back. Lyra moved like a blur, her bloom sharpening her every step. She dodged a staff strike, zapping the attacker with her baton. Tom ducked a blast, rerouting power to overload a light panel above the enforcers. It exploded in a shower of sparks, stunning two more. Together, they were unstoppable, his human tricks and her alien grace weaving into something fierce and beautiful. The leader lunged at Tom, staff raised, but Lyra tackled him, her claws pinning him down. "Leave him alone," she snarled. The fight ended as fast as it began. The enforcers lay scattered, groaning or unconscious. Tom wiped sweat from his face, panting. "We're a good team," he said. Lyra chirped, her feathers fluffing with pride. "Yes. A very good team." But before they could celebrate, the comm crackled again. A stern Vaxel voice filled the room. "This is Elder Kiv. Lyra, you've shamed us. And you, human, release her, or we'll tell the galaxy you stole her. Your kind will pay." Tom's fists clenched. "Stole her? They're twisting this." Lyra's eyes darkened. "They're scared. Of us. Of what we could mean." She touched his arm, her feathers soft against his skin. "What do we do?" Tom looked at her, then at the station, his home, now their battleground. "We fight back," he said. "Not with weapons. With the truth. They want a story. We'll give them one they can't ignore." The station hummed around them, battered but standing. The bond between Tom and Lyra had grown stronger, forged in sparks and feathers. Whatever came next, they'd face it together, human ingenuity and Vaxel courage against a galaxy that didn't understand them yet. Part 4, A New Beginning. The workshop was a wreck, scorch marks streaked the walls, feathers and broken tools littered the floor, and the air smelled of burnt metal. Tom stood by the control panel, his hands still smudged with grease, while Lyra leaned against the workbench, her golden eyes fixed on the comm device. The Elder's threat echoed in their minds, a galactic smear campaign accusing Tom of kidnapping her. The station's hull creaked under the strain of the last attack, but it held, just like they had. Together. Tom slammed a fist on the panel, making the screen flicker. "They think they can scare us into giving up. They don't know humans." Lyra chirped softly, her feathers fluffing with a mix of worry and determination. "Or Vaxel who choose their own path. But how do we fight this? They'll turn everyone against us." Tom grinned, a spark of mischief in his eyes. "We don't fight with fists this time. We tell our story first. Beat them to the punch." He tapped the comm, pulling up a public broadcast channel. "Every station's got one of these. Emergency signal. Reaches half the sector." Lyra tilted her head. "You want to talk to the galaxy?" Tom nodded. "Yeah, but we need help. Someone with a bigger voice." As if on cue, the comm beeped with an incoming call. A cheerful human voice burst through. "Hey, station guy. This is Mia, freelance reporter, Neo Trade Network. Caught your fight on a drone feed, wild stuff. Mind if I swing by?" Tom exchanged a look with Lyra. "Perfect timing," he said, then hit the reply. "Mia, get here fast. We've got a story for you." Half an hour later, the airlock hissed, and Mia bounced in, a short woman with bright red hair and a hovering camera drone buzzing around her head. "Whoa," she said, eyeing the mess. "This place looks like a war zone. And you," she pointed at Lyra. "You're the alien with the killer moves. Spill it, what's the deal?" Lyra hesitated, but Tom nudged her. Go on. She's our shot. Lyra took a breath, her feathers settling. I'm Lyra, from Vaxel. I came here to work, not to cause trouble. But my people don't like me being here during feather bloom. They attacked us to take me back. Mia's eyes widened. Feather bloom. Sounds juicy. And you, big guy? She turned to Tom. Name's Tom, he said. This is my station. Lyra's my friend. They tried to trash my home and take her. We fought back. Now they're lying, saying I kidnapped her. Mia clapped her hands, her drone zooming in. Oh, this is gold. Human and alien teaming up against the odds. The galaxy's gonna eat this up. Let's go live. She fiddled with her drone, linking it to Tom's broadcast channel. Ready? Tom glanced at Lyra, who nodded. Ready, he said. The drone's light blinked red, and Mia grinned. This is Mia, live from the edge of human space with Tom and Lyra, heroes of the frontier. Tell us everything. Tom spoke first, his voice calm but firm. I'm just a mechanic. Lyra's a cleaner. We didn't ask for this fight, but we're not running from it. Her people attacked us because she chose to stay. I'm not holding her here, she's free to go. But she's my friend, and I'll stand by her. Lyra stepped forward, her feathers glowing faintly in the drone's light. The bloom showed me trust. Tom earned it. My elders want to control me, but I choose my life. With him, I'm stronger. Mia beamed. There you have it, folks. Friendship, freedom, and some serious guts. These two took on Vaxel enforcers with, what, tools and cleaning gear. Tom chuckled. Pretty much. Mia winked at the camera. Stay tuned, this is just the start. She cut the feed, turning to them. That's step 1. It's blasting across every network now. But the Vaxel won't back off easy. What's next? Before they could answer, the comm crackled again. Elder Kiv's voice boomed through. Lyra, you've shamed us further. This human lies. We'll prove it. The screen flickered, showing a Vaxel broadcast, images of Lyra, trapped, in the station, twisted to look like Tom was the villain. Mia whistled. They're fast. But I've got contacts. We can counter this. Tom clenched his jaw. Then let's make it big. Show both our worlds what we're really about. Over the next hours, they worked with Mia to record a full story. Tom explained how he'd kept the station running alone, how Lyra's arrival changed everything. Lyra shared her life on Vaxel, her decision to explore the galaxy, and how the bloom bonded them, not as captor and captive, but as equals. Mia added footage of the fight, highlighting Tom's clever traps and Lyra's fierce courage. This isn't just about us, Tom said on camera. It's about what humans and aliens can do together. Lyra nodded. It's about choosing who we stand with. The broadcast went live, and the galaxy responded. Messages flooded in, humans cheering Tom's grit, aliens praising Lyra's defiance. Mia's drone buzzed with updates. You're trending on 3 planets. The Vaxel Council's getting pressure to back off. Sure enough, a new message came from Elder Kiv, his tone stiff. Lyra, your actions confuse us. But the Council will reconsider. Your bond with the human is noted. It wasn't an apology, but it was a start. Tom and Lyra sat together in the workshop, the chaos finally settling. Think they'll leave us alone? She asked. Tom shrugged. Maybe. But if they don't, we'll handle it. We're good at that. Lyra chirped, her feathers brushing his arm. Yes. Very good. Mia popped up, grinning. So, what's next for the galaxy's favorite duo? Retirement? Adventure? Tom looked at Lyra, an idea sparking. How about a business? Repairs and cleaning, human and Vaxel style. Best in the sector. Lyra's eyes lit up. I like that. No one cleans like me. Tom laughed. And no one fixes junk like me. We'll show them what's possible. Mia clapped. I'm sold. I'll spread the word, Tom and Lyra, the frontier's finest. The station hummed around them, no longer just Tom's lonely outpost but a home they'd built together. The galaxy watched, curious and inspired, as their story rippled outward. Months later, their business thrived, ships docking for repairs, aliens hiring Lyra's glowing tools. The Vaxel softened, some even visiting to learn from them. Tom and Lyra stood on the station's deck, watching a sunset glow over distant stars. Worth it? He asked. Lyra's feathers puffed proudly. Every feather. Their bond, born in a mess of oil and plumes, had bridged worlds, and it was just the beginning.